Hi, Linda.
Hi Terry, how you doing?
Good. It's finally nice to kind of meet, so to speak, and talk in
Yeah,
person.
yeah, for sure. I hadn't heard from you in a couple years, or it's been a while, I guess. I don't remember when we last touched base. Has it been that long?
It's been about 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. So first of all, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
So did you grow up in Chicago?
I did. Born and raised.
So tell me about it. What was it like? Big family, small family? You don't have to give me any details you don't want to share.
Big family, huge family. And as when I was little, it was every Sunday at grandma's when, cooking pasta for the whole family. I'm very, very close with my cousins. All of us would get together, like I said, on the weekends. And where there are, on my dad's side of the family, there are 10 of us cousins, and we're all like 1 year apart.
What
Some of
what
us
nationality?
Italian.
Oh, no wonder you said pasta, right?
Yeah. So, and in fact, one of my cousins, her and I share the same birthday week. So we're all very, very close in age. So we all grew up together. And even my mom's side of the family, I was always close with those cousins as well. We always lived in the same town. And so I just, holidays for us were ridiculous. My mom would cook, I'm not even exaggerating, for 50 people. That would be our.
Now I noticed you do some cooking online on YouTube and such. So that carried over to you?
Kind of. So the way my mother cooked and the way that I eat now, completely different. I eat now like a fitness person. So my meals now are very basic. You're going to find me eating a lot of chicken, a lot of vegetables, some fish. With, back in the day, it was pasta and meatballs. And I mean, it was, all the good stuff. Yeah. So, and I remember it was kind of funny because along the way, I'll jump forward to when I got into the industry, but then I'll go back if you want me to. But when I got into the industry, I would show up at family functions still, and we would all be, loading our plate with whatever. Well, my plate changed looks completely as I got into the fitness industry. So my cousins would look at my plates and be like, "Where's your pasta? Why are you not eating these potatoes? Why?" And I would get so upset about, like, all right, already. I'm not picking on your plate. Why are you picking on my plate? Who cares?
Right.
But
So, so there's such thing as I don't want to say discrimination,
peer
but
pressure.
if someone wants to eat right, you feel the fire from some people, right?
Yes, even your family members. They don't say anything now. They realize that it didn't really get them anywhere, and they realize what my end goal was. So, now nobody says anything. And to be honest, I have a lot of other family members now who've kind of jumped on the fitness bandwagon. And so they're, they eat pretty healthy. So we're all kind of on the same page. But yeah, so growing up in Chicago, lived in Chicago, then moved to the Franklin Park area. And then I moved to the suburbs when I was, a teenager, but still stayed close with all my cousins and so forth. So always grew up in a big family. Holidays are ridiculous.
That's great. That's fantastic. I come from a big family myself. I'm the oldest of 9 kids.
Oh, wow.
So, I was born in Utah. So I came from kind of like a Mormon family, and Mormons have a lot of family members.
Yes.
So my mom, especially her side, was very religious. So I grew up in a very strict environment. No drugs, no drinking, no coffee, no soda. You couldn't even have Coke and stuff, which to me were some really good things because all that sugar. And I remember my grandpa, you wonder what could Coca-Cola or Pepsi do to you? Well, he would take it and put it as like a little trap for a rat.
Hmm.
And a rat can virtually eat anything. It would drink the Coke and kill the rat.
Wow.
So if that kills a rat, what's it do to human body, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I
Um,
I haven't drank pop and I don't even know how long. It's been ages.
and that's an interesting too is the word soda versus pop.
Yes.
If you're in the country at one spot, it's soda, and then I think it's east of the Mississippi is probably soda, and then west would be pop.
I think you're right. I think, although I am east of the Mississippi, so
Oh, okay. So maybe
I
you're
think
on
it's,
that border.
yeah, I think it's a Midwest thing. Pop is a Midwest thing. I think.
Okay.
I think.
See, with your profession and the way you keep yourself, I would assume, and I don't mean to generalize, were in high school, were you an athlete or a cheerleader? Because you've got that physicality.
I was an athlete. I played softball. In junior high, I played softball and volleyball, and I was in POMS. When I got to high school, it was just softball, and I worked. I mean, I had a job by the time I was 14 years old, so I didn't have a whole lot of time for sports. So I played softball every year, and that was the only sport that I played. Oh, I did track as well. I did track.
Okay, wow, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, I was extremely athletic as a boy, because I have five brothers, so we would play football, baseball, basketball, and when I was growing up, that was kind of my dream to be an athlete.
Mhm.
But out of all the sports I played, the one I was really dominant in elementary school, believe it or not, was soccer.
Mhm.
I used to play soccer every single day, snow, rain, and I was really good. I mean, to be honest, I was very good. So much so, my team voted me as the team captain.
Wow.
I was a center forward, which is the guy who, is in the middle of the field, so he controls the offense. And I think what happened was I played it so much after about 3 years of being really dominant in it, I actually just said, I got to do something else. I'm kind of tired of it. And I never played on a soccer team after that. I
Wow.
started playing basketball and a little bit of football. And then eventually in high school, I played baseball.
Wow. Maybe you
So,
just got bored with it because you had no competition.
well, I don't know about that, but I played it so much, I just think I wore it down, because I was doing it every day. I
Right. Right.
remember in my elementary school, there was me and a kid. He was African American. His name was Chris Robinson. And we were like the two best players in school. So it was always Terry's team against Chris's team every day in elementary school.
That's awesome.
But you know what? Being the oldest of nine and being voted team captain on, like, say, soccer, that really goes in being a film director, where I lead like over 100 people making a film,
Wow.
which
Yeah, I
is
guess,
probably no different than what you do as a business leader, right?
yes. You know what? I'm the baby of the family, though. I'm the baby. I'm not the firstborn. And but I did take on a lot of the characteristics as a firstborn would, because my sisters were so much older than I was. My oldest sister is 8 years older than me, and my next sister was 5 years older than me. So, and then, as my parents divorced, one of them moved out, the other one moved with my father. And so I just kind of took on that role of,
Now, do your sisters look like you?
no, well, first of all, they're shorter than I am, and I'm not
Shorter
tall.
than you?
Yes. And, but when they were younger uh, and fit, they look like me. My sisters were beautiful when they were young. Now, they're overweight. They, eating and drinking and whatever, and really enjoying their lives the way they do.
Yeah.
That's what happens. I took on a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
But my oldest sister looked like Demi Moore when she was younger.
Wow.
Gorgeous. And my other sister looked like Jennifer Aniston. So
Wow.
they were beautiful. None of us look alike. So it's really we all have our unique look, but and then when I was younger, I tend to, people said I look like Valerie Bertinelli. Do you remember that?
Wow.
Yeah. So we all looked like, somebody who was beautiful, but none of us looked anything alike. It was really kind of funny.
Which is cool. That's right. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think, and I'm just saying this because my wife's Italian too.
Uh-huh.
Italian women are beautiful. I mean, they just get this natural. A lot of times you'll get the skin complexion that'll
Mhm.
be a little bit, like darker, or the dark hair. I mean, all that. I've always found that to be very, it's a very good quality.
Some people are more attracted to blondes, some people more brunettes. I think the sharp qualities that a brunette displays, especially an Italian one with the dark eyes, the dark hair, usually the darker lips.
Yep.
I know what you're saying.
Thinking back to high school, did you know at that time, before you went to DePaul, right? Did you know that you wanted to be in the fitness industry? Because I think you got, was it business administration, if I remember? So were you focused on business first, or was fitness always going to be part of it?
I actually was more into nutrition, and I didn't go right into DePaul. I went to Harper Junior College first, and then from DePaul, I went to a different university, but then I got married and I had twins. I had baby girls by the time I was 24 years old. So my schooling kind of did a little bit of a dead stop, and I didn't pick school back up until I was 30.
Wow. But you know what? That's really admirable that you went back. So having the girls that young, Did you feel like that was going to stop you from your dreams? Because obviously it didn't.
When I was a stay-at-home mom for a little while, actually a little while, for 9 years, but the entire time that I was a stay-at-home mom, I always had another job. I did a gift basket business, so I opened my own business, and that did really well. I had another baby after the twins were 2.5.
Wow.
My other baby was born, but the whole time staying home, I just felt like I was a good mom, and I spent time with my kids, and that was great. But I felt like there was so much more that I could be doing with my brain besides, like, I try to do structure and color with them. Like, this is what time we're going to do this, and we're going to read books, and we're going to do this. And I was very structured at home, but I just felt like I needed to do a little bit more. So I started a gift basket business that did really well. And I also I dabbled in making jewelry. All the moms around that time, they made jewelry. We'd go to craft shows and things like that. But when I hit a significant part of my life where I was going through a divorce, and I knew that I was going to have to get a real job. The gift basket business probably would have done well, but I would have definitely needed more people. And I was right at that cusp where I was either going to have to spend more money by hiring people or completely dissolve it and move on to something that was going to pay me a regular salary. I chose to do the latter because I was going to have a regular salary to pay for the home that I wanted to stay in and my 3 kids and so forth. So that was when I really got hardcore into the fitness industry. Because I was going through my divorce, I took a look at myself and went, oh my gosh, somebody else is going to see me naked. I have work to do. And that's actually what got me.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, that's what actually got me started. And so I hired a trainer, and that trainer taught me the program that I still teach today.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
a year into my program, I asked him, I said, I'm going to be getting a full-time job, and I'm interviewing at these corporate places. And every time I walk in the door looking the way I do, I get really dirty looks, and I don't know that I'm going to do very well. So I said, what do you think about me becoming a trainer? And I went like that. And he said, you'd be perfect. He said, you know
Wow.
more than all the trainers that we are standing among here at the gym. You trained with me for a year. And so I took my certification, and I took my degree in both business administration and nutrition. And then I got my certification in personal training, and that's where it all began.
That what's amazing is that you're living proof that you can have kids, you can like not be really doing what you've been doing all this time for 10 years, whatever almost, and you can still make it happen. So there's no reason, it's never too late, right?
Right. That's so true. And when people ask that, oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I certainly didn't see myself here 5 years ago, and I didn't see myself there 5 years before that. That's a loaded question. That's one of those questions that's really hard to answer because there's so many variables, and there's so many things different changes that that go on during life. I mean, my gosh, last year was supposed to be my best year yet, and COVID hit, and it was a year that I struggled the hardest.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was not supposed to happen. That was not in the game plan.
Shows a person with perseverance that can overcome even COVID. I mean, God knows we're all kind of struggling through it. Yeah, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. How did it affect your business?
Oof. It affected my business. It affected me greatly, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to give you the background of the gym. So I owned 2 gyms in Chicago. Sold one, closed one. The one I sold, the person who bought my gym got hit from COVID. And so he was unable to keep the gym going. And the way that our agreement read was that if he defaulted, I get my gym back. Fortunately, he let the business part of it dissolve, but I still managed to gain control of the equipment. So now I have this tool to make money again. So guess what I'm doing?
Good for you.
I'm opening another gym.
Talk about when you attended DePaul. What's that like? Everybody has their own stories. Like for me personally, I didn't go to college full time. I went into the Army.
Okay.
I did it because no one in my family had ever been a soldier. I wanted to be able to say that I defended our country. And I fought, because I was from such a big family, we didn't have a lot of money. So I never really had seen much of the world. And when you go in the Army, you go all over the place.
Yes.
And in fact, they said to me, because of the MOS I was choosing, which was 75 Charlie, which was personal management specialist, I chose a job that I felt I could use in the outside world. So instead of being a tank operator or a grunt or whatever, that was really like an executive assistant. So I learned computers, typing, business management in an army setting. You know what I mean?
Yes, valuable.
And I've been doing that ever since, besides my filmmaking, which filmmaking's never took over as my regular job yet. I'm
Hmm.
getting a little bit closer to it, but you know, you got to have something to make a living, right? So, tell me about DePaul. What was it like? Were you a scholarly student, really quiet? Were you a party girl? Give me an idea what you were like in college.
So, okay, so college. So you're thinking back like college days, before kids' college days. But again, that's when I was going to a junior college and I was working 3 jobs. There was no partying going on. There was a little partying going on whenever I can sneak it in. But I mean, I had my own apartment at that time. I was going to school full time. I was working 3 jobs. There was very little time to party.
Wow.
So I wasn't one of those party girls. And from there, like I said, I decided to get a full-time job because I'm going to tell you the truth again on this. I told my father I was getting married at age 21. And he thought the way that he would talk me out of it was, fine, you can go and get married, but then you're his problem. He could pay for your college. And I went, okay, because, you know, I know everything because I'm 21 years old.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of how it went. And I realized, well, he's not going to be able to pay for my college, so I'm going to get a job and they'll pay for my college. So then I went into a full-time job. They did pay for my school. And like I said, for the next 3 years, I went to school, you know, part-time at Roosevelt University, which is a private college here in Chicago. And that's when I became pregnant with my children, my twins. So I was on bed rest. I was going to finish, I'm going to finish out this year. This is going to be great because, you know, big deal. I'm pregnant. I can do this. But then I wound up on bed rest because I was having twins and things weren't going so well. So I had to drop out of college. 2.5 years later, had the second baby, or had the second pregnancy, third baby. And right at that point was when I knew I was going to have to go back to college because I was never going to finish my degree if I did. So after I think she was about 3 years old is when that's when I went to DePaul University.
Okay, got it.
And
And
then DePaul University, that was 2 years straight. I don't remember how many classes I took, but I was a very good student because I really wanted to prove something to myself and everybody else. Yeah, well, so I worked at a national chain. Back then it was Bally Total Fitness. Now it's LA Fitness, I believe. And I worked there. So that was my first job in the training industry. And it's a little unheard of, but I had my first client within 2 weeks of being there. And
wow.
usually it's minimum a month because you have to walk the floor and you have to meet people and you have to, you know, and nobody wants the trainer who has no clients. They want a trainer who has a bunch of experience. So it took me a while to, you know, 2 weeks to walk around and get to know people. But I got my first client and it just snowballed. My schedule filled up very quickly. I believe it was within a year, I had a waiting list to even get on my schedule.
Wow. Now, do you think it was, and I'm saying this in all respect, the way you look?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because
No questions asked.
who would not want to be trained by someone like you?
I'm not kidding you. I would have women saying, your ass is smaller than mine. You must know what you're doing. And that was literally why I would get hired. And
Were the guys coming too, besides the ladies?
yes, I did have some men, like, you know, there were some men who were just trying to talk to me because they were trying to hit on me. I mean, they were like in really great shape. And I'm like, what am I going to do to help you? You know more than I do.
Right.
But there were a lot of men. My schedule now is probably 50-50. A lot of times what I get are men who don't have the confidence to work out with another man because they don't want to look, you know, weak or, you know, insufficient or whatever.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, and they know that I'm nice, and they know that I'm not going to judge them and I'm not going to laugh at them. But most of all, they know that I'm not going to ask them to do something that I know they can't do.
Yeah.
So there's never going to be a moment where they're going to be embarrassed, ever.
Good.
And so when you work in a gym, I don't think trainers realize this going into it, but when you work at a gym, you're on stage. and everybody in the gym is watching you. They're either watching you to pick apart your techniques, your form, your training style, or they're there to learn from you. But either way, there are a lot of people in the gym looking at you and watching you. So most people were able to figure out my temperament, by just watching the way I interacted with clients. And I had a lot of people say they loved the way that I would do that. I would get down on their level, literally, like I'd get down on a knee and talk eye to eye with somebody if they were sitting on a bench. Or, I would, they would see there are some days a client would come to work out and they were having such a bad day, we wouldn't lift one weight. We would just sit there and talk about their day.
Wow. So you're almost like a psychologist.
Kind of. I didn't realize how much the psychology classes that I took, how much they were going to come in handy.
So if you're in the gym all day, and I'm just saying this because you always hear things that if you do something so much, you can get sick of it. Mm-hmm. Like I did with soccer. Do you ever I don't want to be here. I've been here 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, ready to go out, or it's always just still cool?
I don't know how it happens this way, but I never get tired of my job. Every hour I have a new personality. Every hour it is somebody who is going to have a different day today than they did last week. There's going to be progression. There's going to be regression. They're going to have great questions for me. They're going to have great stories to tell me or sad stories to tell me. I have clients that I've worked with from when I worked at Ballet still. I've been in the industry 18 years. Wow. I have men and women that I have trained when they were in college, graduating college, met their significant other, had their first child, 3 job changes, divorce. You can't even believe what I've gone through with some of these clients of mine. They're family to me.
Yeah, and obviously you become someone that's important in their lives.
Yep, and it just happens that way. It really does. It's really such a great. So and I used to have so the program that I teach, it's a 3-day-a-week split: biceps and triceps one day, shoulders back one day, legs one day, and typically if it's biceps and triceps, 8 times out of 10 I will start with a standing bicep curl with dumbbells. And when you work with somebody for 5, 10, 12 years, those bicep curls get pretty boring, you would think, right?
Right.
Well, I had my PT director one time asked me, don't you get so tired of the same bicep tricep routine? And I reminded her, it's not about me, it's about them.
Yeah.
Every time they do this bicep curl, they do it better and they do it better and they do it better.
And it's important to like your job, because I think most people probably really don't. When you purchased your first gym, did you purchase that alone or with a partner?
I had a partner. The man who trained me, we stayed in business together.
Wow.
He then came to Bally's also as a trainer after I started. Wow. And we trained together. And because he trained me and people went, you trained her? I want to look like that. He became a very popular trainer as well. So the two of us kind of worked as a team, and I continued to ride his coattails. He had some great knowledge. He was a master trainer for the CIA for 15 years.
Wow.
And that's where the background came from. And that's the same program that I teach today. So we stayed together. We made a good team. We had clients. Our clients knew each other. We would train near each other in the gym. So it was just like a, big fun party, but everybody was getting in shape. And, so it was, the camaraderie was really kind of fun. So after we left Bally's, we went to a different gym and we leased space out of that gym. And all of our clients came, all but one. So I believe between the two of us, my gosh, I want to say it was about 80 clients between.
That's amazing.
Yes. And so our clients came, they followed us. They were very, very loyal. We then started training trainers, because the place where we were giving them, money right off the top of what our training revenue was. And they loved our program so much. They loved all that extra revenue that they said, hey, can we do this at all the other clubs? Can we take your program and put you at other clubs as well? So we started training trainers. About 5 clubs total. I'd have to think about that. 5 or 7 clubs total. And we trained trainers. We had them shadow us for hundreds of hours before we were comfortable that they knew our program well enough. Wow. And after one of our clients, and they got to critique them, they went on and we placed 2 at each club, a male and a female at each club at this particular chain. And after a couple of years, we just decided, you know what, we could do this on our own. We're going to do this on our own. We weren't like in some of the sketchy things that this particular club chain was doing. We heard some rumors and so forth, and so we thought it's best to not associate ourselves with that. So let's go ahead and take all these trainers, bring them under one roof, and we created our first club.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it was so fun and it was so great. But then little by little, the trainers start going off. You know, they were young also. They started going off, having relationships, moving out of state, going back to college. You know, so little by little, we kind of lost them. And then the industry started changing. 3 years into our first gym, we opened our second location. And that's about the time that the industry started changing. People started doing a lot more stuff online. You know, so we closed that club, kept the original one. Then it became all mine for the last several years.
So, you know, like in filmmaking, we have certain times that I consider like golden periods.
Mhm.
Like the best horror films ever made, and I don't think will ever be beat, were the 70s.
Mhm.
And, you know, so like for the gym industry and the fitness industry, when was it at its max peak? What time frame would you call it?
Well, I got in it around 2003. The best time that we saw was really around between 2006 and 2012.
Because then after that, the internet started to take some of your
Yes.
folks, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, people were training for free. Instagram people were training. They were selling program, not even selling them. They were giving them away for free. I don't even know how they were making their money. I guess they were making their money from sponsorships because,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this trainer's training me for free. I'm going to go ahead and watch her every move. Before you know it, they had so many followers that companies would say, hey, sell my product. You have
Yeah,
all
and now they make money.
Yeah, that's how they make money. But
Okay,
what
good.
it did is it put the rest of us trainers, you know, in a bad position because now we had to completely change the way that we did things.
So here's something I'm curious. What was the best quality of working, owning your gym, and what was the worst part of it? Like, obviously, probably responsibilities, whatever. But how would you describe the best and the worst of being a gym owner?
The best was, you're gonna laugh, I could put the temperature in the gym anywhere I wanted. I'm always cold, so the temperature was always warm. I got to use the best quality toilet paper I could find because that is important to me, and it made people think, "Oh my gosh, I'm in, you know, this country club atmosphere." I was able to play whatever music I wanted. I was able to make sure that it was clean to my satisfaction, to my bar, which is set very, very high.
I've read that you're OCD with cleanliness,
Oh,
right?
yes, I'm ridiculous.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm very similar. My brothers and sisters could attest to this. I used to keep my room as a boy at home so clean they were afraid to go in the room, not only because I was the oldest, but they said I would notice if anything was moved, even like a fraction of an inch.
Uh-huh.
And now with, you know, my wife and daughter, they're not as clean as I am. And it kills me because I'll come home, I work 2 jobs besides being a director.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm working, you know, quite a few hours a week. And I come home and also all this stuff here. I don't know about you, but I feel like just like your body, if you don't mess it, you don't have to clean it. So why do you leave stuff out and not put stuff away? It drives me crazy, right?
I am the same way. I wanted to look clean. I wanted to feel clean. I even remember as a little girl, I couldn't do my homework if my bedroom was messy.
Right.
I had to have everything in order
Yeah.
before I could focus on my homework.
It's like on the weekend when I'll be off. I'm off on Sundays. That's my only day off a week. I can't just like enjoy it. I have to go do work and clean up. I can't even be in like the house if there's laundry to do and dishes. I do all the food shopping. I do like 90% of the cleaning. I mean, the clothes.
Yeah.
For 3 people, and I'm gone a lot because I'm working 2 jobs.
Right. But you can't.
Why can't you guys chip in? You know what I mean?
I do know. I do.
Well, when you had your kids, were they like you or were they not like you and messy?
My little one was like me. She would if I had one of those nights where it was like, everybody go to bed right now, I can't listen to anything anymore, my little one would lay in bed and cry, my bedroom's a mess, can I please just clean my bedroom first? Yeah, she was just like me. The other 2, not nearly as clean, but now that they have their own homes, they're finding that they're being much, much neater. You know, they made their beds every day, not because they wanted to, because I wanted them made. they put their clothes away when the laundry was done, not because they wanted to, because I needed to see their bedrooms cleaned.
Good,
Yeah,
good. That's very good values to give them.
it
Because,
was.
you shouldn't be so lazy that you just leave your stuff everywhere. I mean, it's,
No, they will tell you awful stories. If I would walk in their bedroom and things got messy and there was enough things out of place, I would take whatever was out of place and put it in a pile in their room and
good.
come home from school and be like, what is this? This is all stuff that didn't belong where it was. Find a home for it.
Yeah.
This is driving me crazy.
I guess one of the problems I have with my daughter is that I just clean up for her because I can't take it. My
Yeah.
wife says, don't do it for her. She's gonna get used to it. But I'm just one of these guys where I would rather sit down in a room that's completely clean than to have some clothes and box and this.
Yeah.
I don't feel good with that,
It was really hard, like when my kids started putting away their own clothes and they didn't like fold them the way I would have folded them, and they wouldn't put them in the drawer the way I would have put them in the drawer. That was really hard for me to let go of that. But there just came a point in time where I was so busy that I was like, you gotta let it go, Linda. You gotta let it go. You
Yeah.
can't, you make yourself crazy over stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
there was a point in time where I finally had to let it go. It was not easy.
When did you decide to get into modeling?
Social media came around. I don't really remember what year, but I'm going to say right around the time that we opened the gym, social media was big. That was about 2010. So it probably was earlier than that, but that was when I started paying attention to it. I dug my heels in. I was not going to be part of that. I didn't even want a Facebook with my high school friends just because I just felt like nothing good ever comes of social media. Nobody ever gains a relationship, but a lot of relationships are lost.
Yeah.
Nobody ever gains a friendship, but a lot of friendships are lost. Nobody ever gets a job, but a lot of jobs are lost. And I just couldn't justify being on it. I just couldn't find enough good reason to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a job. I didn't have to try to sell things on social media. I had a job. I owned a gym. So I didn't need to do that. What happened was all along the way when I was getting in shape, photographers would approach me all the time. I want you to model for, no, I don't really do that. No, I don't really do that. I look like this for me. I don't look like this for, anybody else. When social media came around, I think I was approached at the right time. It was the right place, right time. I had to get on social media for something or other. Oh, I think it was because of the gym. We decided to open up a Facebook page.
Okay.
And
Yep.
I had to have a personal Facebook page in order to have a business Facebook page. And then it just kind of snowballed. And I was approached by so many photographers at the time because I had a very unique look.
Yeah.
And so I finally started. And again, it was probably back in 2012, 13-ish, something like that, 11, 12, something like that. I can't remember. But I just decided, okay, let's do this. I may as well, and honestly, I didn't know how much longer I was going to look the way I looked. And I did want it on record somewhere.
Yeah. I actually think that's very smart because one of the things I say to people for movies, especially if they're not quote unquote actors, but there's someone coming from out of a different field. See, I'm the type of director that I can see people in a role, even if they're not in the profession, because I see something about them. I saw that with you. I saw a very distinct look. It wasn't that you were just sexy and attractive, but you had a certain presence that you carried. And, and it's irrelevant of your height or anything like that. It was just a certain physicality that you had. And I thought, she could do this. Even though I hadn't talked to you or anything at that point. I'm the type of director willing to take a chance with that, because when you're not Steven Spielberg or Scorsese or Jim Cameron or someone like that, you sometimes have to think of innovative ways to populate your movie with people that you think would want to be seen. Mm-hmm. I do think that people like to see people that look better than they do. Mm-hmm. Look, if you look at Tom Cruise, Marilyn Monroe, I mean, the list goes on and on. So I have had this theory that if you put people in, now not everybody has to look quote unquote like amazing and magnificent, because it doesn't always fit every character. But if you want someone that's really going to stand out, you'll spot them. And sometimes sometimes they've come to me. Like I was at this heavy metal concert, this band called Primal Fear. They're from Germany. And I was there because I wanted to get permission to use one of the songs in my movie that came out 3 years ago that won Best Horror Film. So I had free tickets, backstage pass. So I go meet the band, and I said, he goes, what is it that you want? I said, I'd like to get permission to use this song for the end credits of the movie. And they said, we have no problem with that. You got to go through a record label, get their permission as well. But we give our okay. The singer comes up to me, Ralph Sheepers, who's kind of a rock star. And I didn't know Ralph before this. He comes over to me and he goes, listen, I would like to do movies. I said, really? He goes, I would like to be in a movie. So if you ever need someone like me, he has a shaved head, really big muscles. Would you consider me? I said, I have to think about it because I didn't have a role for him at that second. He ended up playing the lead in that film that won Best Horror Film. Because when I went back, I had two other partners on that film because there were 5 movies about the devil. So it's an anthology. Mm-hmm. And I directed 3 of the 5. So I'm really like the main guy.
Right.
And so I said to them, what do you think? And they said, you got to use him because he's a rock star. He'll give our movie a name, some credibility. People want to see it because
Sure.
So I ended up getting the song, and I got Ralph, who I didn't even try to get. Can you believe that?
Did he have any acting experience?
He had a little bit of acting experience in, I believe, independent film and maybe a commercial or two.
Okay.
In Germany. So and what's crazy about this, Linda, and I'm being honest with you. Some people may think, oh, don't say this because it doesn't look good for you or him. But I didn't know how much money we were going to have for that movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't know if we could pay him. I didn't know anything. So, because I've usually made very, very independent films. So I told him that, and he goes, I don't care about that. I want to be in a movie. And when he came in from Germany, which we paid for his airline ticket, I found a hotel that put him up for free in their best suite because I'm a very good talker, as you can tell. And so I convinced this hotel to put a rock star that they say they housed a rock star for a movie. And we only had him for about 4 or 5 days. Wow. And so, because it was a shorter movie, remember, it wasn't one whole film. Right. It was a 1 of 5. So anyway, make a long story short, he did the movie, and while he was here, he saw all these younger actors because I found out he was like, we're born the same year, me and Ralph. So we're like the same age exactly. And he was saying to me, why are all these 20-year-old actors, because we're not 20. He's like, why are these 20-year-old actors complaining about how hard we're working? Because, movie shoots are very long, which is something you would probably be able to deal with because you work so many hours. But I mean, like my last movie, and I hate to talk so long here. My last movie, Double Vision, first day was 16 hours, second day was 17 hours, and then we did 19 hours. And 2 of those were overnight.
It's like a regular day for me.
There you go. So you could deal with it. Yeah, so anyway, enough of the stories of that, but that's why when I saw you, I said she could play this part, but I didn't know how you felt.
And I hope I don't offend anybody in particular, but dealing with employees, mostly because nobody takes your business as seriously as you do. What was even more difficult was finding somebody who wanted to show up on time, finding employees who were going to, I would have employees call me at 4:45 a.m. when we open at 5 and say, I can't make it today.
What?
Well, you have to be at the gym in 15 minutes. Well, yeah. So there was a lot of that went on. Employees were by far the hardest thing to deal with, owning my own business.
I have a problem with working with some of the people in their 20s versus the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. The older they got, the more, not only more intelligent, their work ethic was way higher. They didn't complain. The kids in their 20s were they're always the worst.
The worst.
Yeah.
The worst. I have my daughter's bosses tell me how amazing my daughters are because their work ethic is a lot like mine. And they were working my front desk when they were 15 years old. They were working my front desk. And, to me, that was time together because I had crazy hours. It wasn't so much quality time, but they did learn a lot. They're at their age, they're in management positions already. And that's unheard of. And their bosses will tell me if I ever, see them, they're like, your daughters are more valuable than my 30-something-year-old employees.
That's a rarity with that age group.
I know it is. And all three of my daughters fall under the same category. My little one just started her own business. I interviewed a girl to open, and she said, I said, it's an early start time, 5 o'clock. Can you be here at 5? She's like, yeah, I could be there around 5. No, can you be here at 5? The lights are on at 5. Yeah, I could be there around 5. I'm like, next.
Next. You ever think of competing in the figure Olympia?
Never once did I ever want to compete. The reason for that, for one, you hear all these stories about it. It's who you know and the politics that go into it and so forth. But more than that, what somebody has to do in order to prepare themselves for a show is really, it kind of goes against everything I preach. You have to cut your calories way back, so many weeks out. You have to cut your water back so many weeks out. By the time you get to showtime, you're depleted so badly of water, of hydration and nutrients that it's just not good for you. So it just kind of goes against everything that I preach. But more than that, there's no money in it. I'm money driven. I'm not going to do something because I can get a trophy. I could care less about a trophy.
Yeah.
I'm money driven. So one of the reasons that I chose modeling is because there was money in it.
Yeah.
Photographers were paying me to shoot with them. And so, sure, I could do that. They were paying for my trips to Vegas to shoot with them, paying for my trips to LA. Why wouldn't I?
What do you enjoy more, the training or the modeling?
The training. I am done with a photo shoot. I rarely even look at the photos. Typically, somebody else runs my social media. So it's usually a big shock to me what pictures are even being posted.
Right.
I have friends text me and, with a screenshot, oh my gosh, great shot. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So here's a question. And I see this because I'm a very visual director. Every director is different. I happen to be a director that truly has a vision. I think a lot of directors today, that's something they really lack because everyone's depending on digital augmentation, whether it be green screen, fake people, fake backgrounds, everything's fake.
Yep.
I like to see reality because I remember like Michael Mann directed, Heat, The Insider, Collateral.
Yeah.
There's nothing more interesting than reality. When I look at your photos, which some of them are incredible, you in the middle of the road with that black red outfit. Yep. I'm curious, are those things that you envision before you do the shots, or is the photographer coming up with those shots?
Either one of us. And we never really know what we're going to get when we show up on location. Some locations we're familiar with. I've shot at some locations more than once. So if I know I'm going back, I'm like, oh, I have to remember we want to get a shot like that. Yeah. But that doesn't happen often. So a lot of times we show up at something and we don't know what to expect. And a really good example of that is we showed up over the summer. I was in Vegas and my photographer and his assistant showed up it was right on the Colorado River. And we had some great ideas in mind. The ideas we had in mind weren't going to work with the families and their children that were there. We had a little bit of change of plans. And so there were some things that we were able to get away with, but not everything. So I'm in the water and the ground, I had shoes on because I hate the feeling of my feet on the bottom of any lake or anything like that. I just can't look. So I had shoes on, but my feet were sinking so deep into the water that I was trying to walk like, oh, I'm just walking, and my feet are sticking and I'm falling over. So what you think you're going to get and what you get sometimes are completely different. And that one scene that you're thinking about, that was also in Vegas when I was in the red dress, the steampunk outfit, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And, never really occurred to us that I was going to be taking a picture in the middle of the road in between cars driving by. But It just so happened that, the photographer saw a vision of down the road and thought, you know what, this is a really cool, I like the way the road is turning here, so let's go ahead and do that. And his cars,
that's amazing.
We'd wait, cars would go by, and then we'd go and take a couple of shots, and, they'd wait for us.
Is it harder than people think to find a place isolated where you have no one to bother you?
Yes.
I kind of figured that because when I do movies, it's the same problem.
I'm just as comfortable shooting in front of people as long as I don't know them.
Does that attention feed into you in a positive way where you know people are looking, probably some people really either admire or like it? Does that give you any kind of boost knowing, you know what, everyone's checking out, they find it interesting?
You
Does that
know,
give you a good feeling
yeah,
inside?
it does. And it does for this reason. A lot of times people are trying to wonder, like, who is that? What is she famous? Is she, so it just makes me be like, it just kind of puts something in you that just makes you like eat it up. So
Yeah,
yeah, and I'm not really, people who know me most, I'm pretty humble. So I'm not really like that. Even though I dress like, hey, look at me, I am not, that's not really my core. I dress like, hey, look at me, because this just happens to be the way I like to dress. It's odd that when somebody is watching, when groups of people are watching, I can lay it on. And I don't know how or why. I don't know, because it's not really in my nature to be like that.
right.
But it is. So yeah, it's funny that's a really great question.
Thank
That
you.
was not an easy one to answer, because
Anyone noteworthy work out at your gym?
do you know the man who wrote Eye of the Tiger? His name is Frankie Sullivan, and he's with the band Survivor. That's one of
Survivor.
my clients. And I was training him one day. His phone went off and it was laying on the ground. And I happened to look, and it was Bon Jovi calling him.
Really?
Pick up the phone. He's like, now I'll call him back. Pick up the phone.
You probably wouldn't mind to talk to him, right?
Right. I trained him. I've trained a couple MMA fighters.
So when I look at all your pictures that you put on your website, social media, etc., you have some amazing, obviously, not just shots in the way you look, but clothes and shoes. I'm only imagining you must have some sort of closet full of outfits for all these things. Tell us a little bit about that, because from what I understand, you like to shop, right? You put that on your website. When I see these things, like, you don't always wear the same thing twice.
Rarely do I wear the same thing twice. And it's not because I don't love it. It's just I have so much to choose from. I hate to have things just sit and never be worn. I have a bedroom that is floor to ceiling shelves full of shoes. If I put it on my computer right now, I would bring you down and show it to you.
I read that you like the 6-inch stiletto heels.
Yeah.
Is that because of how it makes you look with your legs and going up, or is it to make you taller?
Both. The shoes with the platform are much more comfortable than a flat shoe.
Really?
Yes, it absorbs a shock when you're walking.
Wow.
So I feel like the reason that they're 6 inches is because there's like 2.5 to 3 inch platform with them, which make it absorbs the shock when you're walking. I can wear them for hours without my feet hurting.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. And of course, you look great in them. There's no doubt. Talk about working out a little bit. Do you ever work out at home or only at the gym?
I used to only work out at the gym. I get way too distracted at home. So I did not have even one dumbbell at my house when COVID hit, because I own gyms. Why would I have to do that?
Right.
So when COVID hit, I was kind of stuck, and I had to pick up some apparatus here and there because I started training clients out of my home.
On video? On internet?
I either did virtual training or people came to my home. Clients.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. And like me, I thought I'd mention I work out every other day. It's not a chore. This is what I like. And actually, if I miss a day or two, I really don't feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much part of ingrained in my body. Look, I'm in my mid 50s, and I'm only about 20 pounds heavier than high school. And that's really muscle. That's not
Great.
weight. And what I find, and I was going to ask you about this as well. As you get older, do you find, because your body changes a little bit, either because of wear and tear or because the body does change for everybody, do you find you adjust your routine, the type of weights, the heaviness of the weights? I find that I'm doing that myself a lot more. And I also find that because a lot of us, like my day job, I'm mostly on a computer. So there's a lot of sitting, which is really bad for your body. I've heard that the chair is the new cigarette. More people will die from the chair than the cigarette because everybody's sitting, looking at their phone, on the computer. So People start to get that, what is called the pelvic tilt, where your body starts to shift the wrong way. So I just find as I get older, I'm starting to focus on different things. Like I think that the stomach is probably everybody's problem for the most part. And that becomes even more important than biceps. I mean, I do chest, I do biceps, triceps, I do all of that. But that stomach has to be the focus because it relates to your back, it relates to your posture, especially if you sit a lot. Do you agree?
I do. I always try to talk to people about their posture, and posture doesn't mean just bring your shoulders back. It means elongate your body and your abs tight.
Yes.
If you do that, it really helps that bad lower back that people complain about. Elongating your body and keeping your shoulders back a little bit, it fixes so many problems.
Because everybody's kind of going like this, hunching.
Yep. Always like this,
Yep.
So I stand most of the time for my job, and so it is easier for me to keep good posture, but people who sit, it is not easy.
It is not easy.
You just can't help but get lazy,
Yeah, they like bend in. Absolutely. One of the things I do, you're going to think this is crazy. I thought I'd tell you because one of the things I try to do on the show is I try to bring up stories from my life that maybe I haven't told anybody just because it makes it interesting. Like, what's the secret he's going to tell? You want to know one of the crazy things I do that I work out is every year on New Year's Eve, when the clock strikes 12, my wife and daughter, whoever might be over, we celebrate. Maybe 15 minutes later, they're done. And I go downstairs, and every year, last 15 years, I work out. Really? I start literally the year out with a workout.
Wow.
I did it this year, last year, 15 years straight.
That is really interesting. That's really good. Yeah, usually I'm out. I can't wait to go to sleep.
Yeah, I go right at it.
Wow. Good for you. That's dedication right there.
Yes, exactly. One question I thought I would ask you. My next movie, which I don't know when it's going to happen because of COVID, is the movie out of my whole life that's the most near and dear to me. It's a really, really scary story about a paranormal research team that goes to Sandy Hook, New Jersey to find out if it's haunted. And in the first 15 minutes, they disappear. The police get there. It's a female cop. What eventually happens is that female cop leads her to the 3 women connected to the 3 guys that disappear. So the rest of the movie is about those 4 women and trying to find out what happened to the guys, what is it about that place. And when they do that, what's there starts to terrorize them. Out of all the movies I've ever made, when you do a film, I could tell, being 30 years doing this, not every movie could go all the way. This one could go all the way. It could be like a Nightmare on Elm Street, a Halloween, an Evil Dead. I really believe in it, and that's why I haven't made it till now. I was waiting till I thought I was really ready as a filmmaker. I'm totally ready for it now. I wanted to find out, would you be interested in playing the cop? Because you are the right age, you are the right look. I've seen you with guns, a pistol, whatever you want to call it, 9mm, whatever you're carrying. You have the physical build that could be a cop. She's no doubt a professional, but she's a girly girl. She does her makeup, maybe not crazy, but she still looks feminine. And some people might say to me, you know what? That's not the way a cop looks. That might not be the way a cop looks to you, but to me, this is what I see. I like to break stereotype. I don't like to do what everybody else does. I take chances. And I think that's why my movies stand out, because I'm not afraid. So when I saw you, and even now, and over the 3 years since we spoke last, I actually didn't think of it till just the other day, believe it or not. After you emailed me, you know what? She might be able to be the cop. And this is a movie. The character, being completely honest with you, is a very special female role. In all truth, she's a role model. She faces this unknown force that she can't really stop, but she tries to face it, and a lot of times she's alone. Dark hair, physicality, the attractiveness to you. I think she's a person that everybody is going to admire. They're going to love her because she tries to help people with something you can't even most of the time see.
I would definitely be interested. I have 0 acting experience, just FYI. Fast learner. I'm a good listener. I wouldn't want to disappoint you, but I just want to warn you, you would have to work with me quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I've worked with a lot of inexperienced actors. I'm an actor's director because one of the things I did that not every director does, I'm being honest with you. When I was starting out, I want to understand what actors feel. I want to be able to communicate with them. And if I don't do it, like they do, first of all, I won't have the respect and I won't know what I'm talking about. So I went to HB Studios in New York City and Manhattan for an entire year. I think that most directors don't do it because they're either afraid of it or they think they're above it. But I'm so glad I did it because actors tell me I make it so comfortable for them. So the fact, Linda, that you're very physical, you could shoot guns, the fact that you're a leader, you've got all those skills already in you. That to me what Officer Lehner is. I can promise you, if I do this movie the way I vision it, whoever plays this role, she'll be forever identified with that character.
That would be really cool. I'd absolutely give it a shot.
Here's my goal. Top 10 scary movie ever made. That's my goal.
Wow. And I can't believe that you said you wrote this, you started writing this 18 years ago.
I wrote it back in 2004.
Wow.
When I wrote it, we had just bought this house. So our upstairs room had no curtains at the time. So what I did when I wrote it, I thought if I could scare myself, I think that will carry over to the audience. What I want this movie to do is, you know, like when you feel like something crawl down your spine, like an icy cold, your hair stand up, goosebumps. That's what I want.
Yeah, I already have that, and I haven't even read the script yet.
Yeah.
The scary part, like just you telling me those things, like I could just see me as time goes on being in my own home, being like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like, ugh. And that's my only concern. Honest God, just talking to you about it, that's my only concern, is that I don't watch scary movies because I don't want to be afraid in my own home when I'm alone.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I hope it does scare you because that means I did my job.
Right.
But obviously, it's a script. It's not real.
Yeah.
When you see the final image, it is going to pull the rug out. You're going to like, oh my God, because you literally have to read all of it. I'm going to do something that I've never seen any director ever do in the history of film. In other words, I'm going to have the movie kind of end where you start to see the credits going. I'm holding something till after the credits. And if you wait, you're going to go, oh my God, holy crap. And you know why I'm doing it, Linda? Because I know when people go see it in the movie theater, people are going to talk about it and they're going to say, did you see the last image for the movie? And they go, what do you mean? Did you see the last image? And he goes, oh, you mean where the cop is there and doing this? No, did you see the last image? No. Go watch the movie again.
Yeah.
Makes the audience go back. Think about that. There's more money, more ticket sales.
Yep.
People talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's a business decision as well as a creative decision. Do you like it?
I do. I love that. I can't remember what movies do that. They do the bloopers at the end, but there are movies that do that, and you sit and wait because you know they're coming.
So you're going to be my star.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Terry.
And I just got to say this because it's always the way I end my show because I'll cut this other. Thank you for coming into the depths with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye.